This here is called the Summit Lithium Power Pack. It's one of a family of products. They're sometimes called solar generators or power stations. There are many manufacturers, and there are also many smaller organizations around the world building their own for a particular market. They are not all the same. Now, I want to compare now this one, made in South Africa, with one made in Australia, and also one that is sold globally around the world, a product brand known as Bluetti. I'm Andrew St Pierre White, explorer, overlander and broadcaster with over 40 years driving 4x4s, in association with the Overland Workshop. This then is the Bluetti. The reason why I mention it first is that it's the one that is available around the world. It's a big name brand. But these things, generally speaking, are promoted as power backups for your home. And what I'm going to prove to you now, after I've shown you this unit, is the use case scenarios for power boxes like these goes far beyond just a power backup for the home. Right now it is connected to AC mains and the battery is being charged, and if I press that button there, I'm not an expert on this machine, so if you want to get one of these, then do read the instructions. Don't count on me. I'm not an expert. I'm just reviewing the product. But if I click AC on, and now if I unplug the mains, AC will continue. So whatever you're running from this unit will continue uninterrupted. And that's the beauty of these systems. They really are like uninterrupted power supplies for your home. This particular one has an inverter, a pure sine wave inverter, 1800 watts, which means you could run a toaster. You could, if you had a small kettle, boil water. Some kettles are 2 kilowatts, so that would be a limitation, and you could use a small induction cooker. Again, 1800 watts. It's not a lot, but it's also not a little. It's a good amount to get on with. If I now click DC, I will have DC power from the power outlet here and my USB outputs. It's very nicely made. It's very solid, 2 carry handles. But if you look at the front here, it's a little limited, but of course that's limited depending upon your use case. If you are just running AC, well then it's well endowed with 2 connections and lots of USB. Fantastic. If you are, however, using it more for DC than AC, running a fridge in the back of your car, going camping, then it's this type of power box is a little wanting, because you've got all of your 12 volt DC output from one connector, and it's a maximum of 12 amps. That's not very much. But again, it depends on your use case scenario, which I'm going to show you now. A number of them, a number of alternatives. These, though, are all made by smaller manufacturers in different countries. Here then is a perfect use case scenario for a battery box. This vehicle has been used in the past for touring, but at the moment there's just a drawer system and nothing much else in the back. And we're about to go touring. We are in Washington State. We're about to do a long trip, and we're going to end up in Arizona in about 12 days' time. Well, we want to run a fridge, and we need to charge some camera batteries, some cell phones and things like that. And we've just built a battery box, literally from bits lying around. Well, not everything was lying around, but a lot of it was.
I've just built a makeshift battery box so that I can run a fridge in the back of the Tundra. Because Jeremy had a 100 amp hour lithium. He had this old toolbox that he had used as a battery box before, and I think you supplied him with that. The best thing of all, he had a 40 amp DC-DC charger from Red Arc, so we know these things quite well. And his Tundra has got some cables already in the back, so we can plug it in and we have a battery box. And it can charge my phone and my head torch, and I can plug in a solar panel and a fridge that he's got. So it is extremely crude because it's been built in the last 1.5 hours without any further planning, and we used some timber to hold the battery down, but I think it will do for the trip, and it will run a fridge and it will charge my things.
Here then is another use case. This is my own aircraft, and I'm using a solar pod battery box. It's equipped with an 80 amp hour lithium battery, and I'm refueling my aircraft, powering the fuel pump. Because it's light and portable, I can just take it wherever I need it to be. Day 2 of my drive from Melbourne to my home in Perth in Western Australia in my 45-year-old Range Rover. In 2021 I drove a vintage Range Rover all the way across Australia, and the vehicle had very little equipment in it to keep me alive and, more importantly, to keep my cameras rolling. The perfect use case for a battery power box. I might be staying at hotels and charging batteries every night for the shoot. What happens in the car? I need to be able to charge camera batteries. So I bought myself the National Lunar battery box, Heine Klarman's version of it. And I have a Amtron lithium battery. So this will also power the Snowmaster fridge, which is down there. What I now have to do is sort out the vehicle interior, because contingency is that I might need to make it a home for a while, sleep in the back. So I got this really cheap and nasty sleeping bag, a just in case measure, and I need to get the battery low down far forward, behind the wedge behind the seat. Right, food. Not a terrible night. Not a great night. But I've got about 900 k's to do. When deciding on your power box, the mission must come first. How are you going to carry it, which will determine its size and weight? How portable does it need to be? This here is the Klarman power station. This is taking a power box to the next level. It's actually pretty heavy. It's over 35 kilograms. It's the weight it would be if there was not a lithium battery, if it was a lead acid battery. It would be this heavy. But this has actually 4 times the capacity if it had a lead acid battery in it. It has 200 amp hour battery storage, 2000 watt inverter. It has a 40 amp DC-DC charger at the back. And again, like all power boxes, located in your vehicle, heavy thing like this, going to need to be strapped down. You plug it into your vehicle and it charges the battery directly from the vehicle. If you want a solar input, there's a solar input as well. Charge by solar. Something this large will run a fridge for several days. In fact, this kind of power box is ideal for the camper vehicle you're building, or trailer that you're building, that you actually want to use for proper long distance travel. Why then do a complicated build of the vehicle, which is permanently mounted, when you can have a temporary mounted unit like this, that not only can be used with your camper trailer or four-wheel drive, but can be unplugged, removed, and used in your home as a power backup as well. And here's something else to think about. Have you ever taken a Jenny, noisy, smelly Jenny? Well, in fact, that's what this is. You've got 2 kilowatts of AC power in a unit. Run your air conditioning, run whatever you want to run. And then when you get to the point where you can recharge it by driving or plug it into your solar system, then do so. And lastly, like some of the big brand manufacturers of power boxes, this one too has Bluetooth connection. You can just use an app and monitor the battery charge and state of recharge. The Bluetti also has an app and allows me to give battery information. Do I need to recharge it? And also my DC and AC outputs that I can turn them on and off from the app. So if you had something connected and you wanted to switch it on and off remotely, you could use the app. Not many power boxes made by smaller manufacturers have an app. 10 amps will power a fridge and a couple of lights, perhaps a laptop charger. But you can forget about things like tire compressors. What electrical equipment are you going to run off it? Now this particular one has a 500 watt inverter, which means it's going to be very happy at powering computers, charging laptop batteries and camera batteries, and operating a modem and things like that. It's not going to be particularly good at power tools and useless if you want to make toast with a toaster. So understand what AC equipment you're going to be running off it before you decide which product to purchase. Secondly, how are you going to charge it? Are you going to charge it with solar? If you are going to charge it with solar, then you're going to be looking for a box with an enclosed MPPT. That's the multi-power point tracking type solar charger. Other types of solar chargers are really very, very inefficient. So you're going to look for that when selecting it. So you're going to want a solar charger built in, so you can simply plug in your solar array, whether it be a small panel or a big panel. You may plug it in and it will automatically start charging the battery. If your main charging source is AC power, well, does it have an AC input? Some don't, some do. You're going to want to just plug it into the wall to charge it up. For example, if you've got frequent blackouts and you want something like this to be able to take over from when the AC current switches off, you want this then to be able to deliver AC current to part of your home. You obviously want an AC charger, okay? And a system that can switch over automatically is nice, not necessary, but nice. Does it have that system? Now this here, you can see you've got outputs here for your AC. There's a single output. There's also outputs for 12 volts and inputs for solar and inputs for vehicle. I personally like the inputs to be at the back and the outputs to be at the front. That's my personal preference, because it's just tidier. Doesn't necessarily work any better, but just tidier. Nice to have some kind of battery monitor, so you can just at a glance see, oh, how's it doing? Some will have monitoring systems linked to Bluetooth, where you then need your phone and an app to be able to estimate the charge current, how long it'll take to charge, how much current charge is remaining, so therefore how long can you continue using this amount of energy that you're using until the battery is depleted and needs charging. On this particular one, there are just 2 USB outputs. And of course you can run extensions, but for me, now this is my mission, I would like 4 of those, because I charge all my camera batteries and everything off USB. But this one has 2 additional 12 volt outputs, plus those 2. I would say 4 is sufficient for most people, I guess. 12 volt outputs to run fridges, maybe a bank of lights. The other very nice thing about power boxes is that if you have a vehicle that is used for trips, picnics, weekend out, and you need it to run a fridge and things like this, but you don't really want the expense of putting in a split charge battery system, well, here's a solution. You can run the input from, say for example, in your 4x4. You have a fuse box running some lights, running a fridge, running the different parts of your setup, and it's wired by 2 Anderson plugs that are joined together. The first Anderson plug is wired directly to the start battery. That is not a split charge system. In other words, the car will operate normally, but it's connected to the start battery. Now you're going on away on a trip and you don't want to run that off the start battery because you want to run it overnight. You don't want to run the risk of a flat start battery. So you unplug it. You plug one in there and one in there. Obviously the input from start battery in there and the output charge to your fuse box there. Boom. This now is a standalone split charge system. Remember to just disconnect this at night. You do need to remember to disconnect the start battery at night because this will take the charge from the start battery while operating. You're going to say to it, okay, I'm going to sleep now. I want to run all my power from this battery, not the start battery. Unplug that and you're safe. It's now going to run all your car accessories, fridges, etc. while you're sleeping. And when you get going the next day, start the engine, plug it in, and this will, of course, start up. On the back, power input, AC, obviously, that's your charge input. Good, put it on the back, absolutely. 2 additional outputs, like it, and that is ignition trigger. Sometimes necessary, if using one of these items, to be charged from the vehicle start battery, if the vehicle is equipped with a smart alternator, which complicates things a bit. And the ignition trigger basically is you're telling the item when the ignition is on, start charging, when the ignition is off, stop charging. That is a good safety feature actually also, because if you accidentally forget to turn it off at night and the charging from the start battery continues, you could end up in the morning with a flat battery. With that, it's a safety system that's worth thinking about using. Not all power boxes have it. I hope that hasn't confused you because I gave you a lot of information and I think perhaps a quick summary will help. This, in my opinion, is the way to tackle this. If you're interested in a portable power supply primarily for your home, you want to make sure that if the power goes out, you can still read, write, have light, even perhaps run a fridge and certainly run a computer and a modem, then something like the Bluetti is the perfect solution. Backup all over the world and they have a very, very good reputation. If you are wanting to run primarily AC equipment from a vehicle, so you want that same power ability in your home, but also you're going to use it when camping on a trip or going to the beach and you want power to run a fridge and whatever your other equipment might be, then this kind with a single low amp output for DC are limiting. Then one of the others is going to be best suited to you. And then you ask yourself these questions. Must it be portable, easy to carry? Then weight is a big factor. What am I going to run? So look at the output possibility. How many amps will it deliver over what period of time? And ask the salesman, explain to him, I'm running a fridge, I need some lights. He's going to ask how many, or may guess, how many amps that is going to need over what period of time, and therefore what size battery box you will need. Understanding the demands on the unit when away from the ability to recharge it is vital. And the last question is, how is it being recharged? Do you need it to be recharged from your car, or is that not important? Just charge it when you get back home. These are the questions that you need to have in your arsenal before speaking to the salespeople or contacting the manufacturers to ask them the right questions. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this and got something out of it, do me a favor, press the like button. See you next time.